The thing that I love about the Wise Guys teams is that you guys have a knack for finding the most passionate founders. They know what they're doing, they believe in what they're doing, and nothing is going to stop them.
It is really intense, I have to say, but I really enjoy it because I feel every day I'm totally evolving in this program, and I see that I have so many weapons already.
It's challenging at times. We come with a strong background of doing a lot of things at once, but it's just amazing to be next to the teams, showing all the creativity you can to help them. So it's not something you have to deliver, it's very creative work, and that's what I'm very surprised that I really like it.
I think the best of the people part always. You already know everything, but here the borders are infinite, just so much things to learn.
One of them is the passion, and the other one is how much we care about each other. Among everything, we are a team that really likes to spend time with each other, and part of that is because we all share the mission.
Because I always had a feeling that this is the family that I have.
This is not a job, this is what we love to do. I think when you can mix that one, it's great. We just have to sometimes understand that, hey, there is more people around us that we have to put some time for them.
For us, it was mainly like a crash course startup MBA, basically, kind of. It's kind of like a bottle of good wine, kind of that keeps getting better all the time.
I mean, Wise Guys team is what keeps me energized through everyday life. When I started working with the startup scene, Wise Guys was my kind of entryway, so I feel like it's a family. I'm like an adopted startup Wise girl.
I just remember one scene from the Tech Chill 2 months ago when you had the demo day with Swedbank. Nearly all the startups were nearly crying when they said goodbye to the mentors. They can really feel the energy, and I think culture beats everything. And I also see Wise Guys as an execution machine.
Yeah, and people ask that why do you do that? There is no money, and very many accelerators have failed after a year or two. I believe that if you really want to do it, if it's your vision, and then you just can't give up, and you will figure it out how it works.
And you have to pitch at the big stage, right?
Yes. My hands are already shaking.
It's too easy for us because this whole month startup Wise Guys, every day we preaching. It's easy for us.
Now we are only going up, and only the sky is the limit.
This is love for what we do at the end of the day, and this is our life that we want to have.
I already know that when it's over, then I'm gonna cry.
3 minutes of station, now back to work.
Hello, everyone. Spirits have been lifted. That's one thing we want to reminiscence on. It's been the times when we got to see each other on site. But today here we have gathered 3 of our alumni, and you get to poke and ask them questions, whatever comes to your mind. But I will give now floor to Marius, and he will take it from here, do all the introductions and everything. So a quick note from my side. If you have any questions to these awesome guys here, just write them in the comments. We see them on our side wherever you are watching us. So don't hesitate and write those questions. Marius, take it from here.
Thanks a lot, Luisa. Hey guys, hi everyone. My name is Marius. I'm portfolio principal at Startup Wise Guys, the largest accelerator in the region with the 250 investments on board. And our mission is to help founders to become entrepreneurs. And that's why we are here today with a great 3 startups to discuss this startup life. Open discussion, no strings attached. And if you guys have any questions, please fill on the form so I can ask the team. So let me introduce the guests. I'm really pleased to meet you guys. It was a while. We had a short discussion before this live, just 5 minutes. We didn't see each other for a while, and it was really interesting to catch up. But let me introduce you guys to the audience. We have a guest, Jevgenij, the CEO and co-founder of the GoRamp, Batch 14.
Hi.
Jevgenij is a sales professional experienced in the logistics industry. Passionate, hardworking, always excited, hands-on approach founder. And I remember that he was the one in the batch 14 who was all the time cold calling in the first days to reach its first customers. So for ones who don't know, the GoRamp is a logistic platform optimizing supply chain workflow and communication between cargo senders and the carriers. And I know that already, you have really good traction, customers from all the Europe, Poland, Germany, Netherlands, and I heard even Australia. So Jevgenij, welcome to the stage. Right. Thanks, and just realize that you was batch 14. It was 2 years ago, something, right? And now, like in June, we have batch 25. So 11 batches, more than 100 investments at this time. Insane. I mean, wow. So another participant is Laimonas. Hi, Laimonas. Laimonas is the CEO and co-founder of the Heavy Finance, batch 21, the recent Fintech 4 batch from Lithuania. He's an entrepreneur, 10 years experience in the Fintech, the expert in alternative financing. I would say the expert in this region. In 2015, Laimonas founded his one of the first startups, the FinBee, that he exited in 2020. Also, he was the board member of the well-known startup in Lithuania, Viena Sąskaita. So he knows the stuff, and I'm really happy to have him here. And for those who don't know what is the Heavy Finance, it's a crowd-lending platform that allows you to invest in the loans backed by heavy machinery. Something new, something interesting, something even investors don't know how it's really, really working. It's something sexy in the industry. So we're going to talk about this as well. Hi, Laimonas.
Hi, Marius. Hi, all. Thank you for introduction. And should I pitch the company now, or are we?
No, we're good. We're good. I also, we jump to that as well, And we have, of course, Ernesto, the CEO and the co-founder of the Xpass. Ernesto is the professional in compliance industry, in the digital financing, and the product management. He is the ex-TransferWise product manager for the last 4 years. And correct me if I'm wrong, it is your first own venture, the Xpass, that creates digital identities for Latin America. And I'm always saying that Ernesto is the real hustler who loves the challenges, because you are after the mission to eliminate bureaucracy in Mexico, right?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. My first adventure, if you don't count, like the small side projects cooking Mexican food, then this is the first big adventure.
Great. So guys, 3 co-founders, 3 CEOs. Let's start, with some warm-up. Many things happen in 2020, right? Roller coasters, everyone talk about. So not talking about 2020. So how is 2021? Many things happening as well, right? Even in the startup landscape, many news happening, many ventures are appearing, many VCs are raising the capital. But from business perspective, how is the start? How is the 2021? If we can call it a start, right? The Q1 has passed. Laimonas, maybe starting from you. How is the business?
I mean, not much changes in 2020 to 2021, because in a business you have to adjust to constant change, and that's the only constant thing in life when you do business. It's change, so you're always prepared to whatever happens. So, and actually, I was amazed by you guys, Startup Wise Guys, how you adjusted to the switching from offline accelerator to online accelerator, and that was superbly done. So the same for us. A lot of changes, but yeah, you have to deal with that. So nothing special. Just a change, constant change.
I would say you are too shy. I know that your numbers are great. I know that the traction is growing. So okay, I'll try later to talk more about this interesting growth of your startup. So Jevgenij, I know as well that the first quarter was pretty well. You got new customers and 90% of the international, not the local market. Also a good pace of growth, like month-over-month basis. So how the things? Is it good? Do you see the good start for 2021?
Yeah, for sure. I think that the start of 2021 is quite good for us. But with that journey, you always need to think a few months ahead. So now we are onboarding new people, new processes are being made there. And then if we want to keep that growth in upcoming few months, then we need to be prepared in advance. So that's why, on the one hand, you have pretty good numbers, and on the other hand, you have a lot of new processes which should be validated, covered, and implemented in the company in order to keep that pace and keep that growth. But I think that we are on the good road at the moment.
Okay, thanks a lot. And Ernesto, what about you? Also, I know that you have a good start. You were the fastest startup who closed the next round right after the accelerator, and we're going to talk about this a bit. But overall, how's the business? You are in completely region. You are going after Latin America. How's the 2021 start?
So I would say it's going really well because we're finally speaking with customers, like with potential users. We have, probably like we have pivoted quite a few times. We're way early stage than Laimonas and Jevgenij, so that's a full disclaimer on this conversation. But I felt in the last months we were able to go away from our European mentality and all these bias that we had here in Estonia, to actually focusing on what really matters for people in Mexico and starting to listen, stop hearing. So it's going really good. Like we're seeing way more traction than before now. And then maybe I'll comment a bit more on that. So I would really say the pandemic has helped people's shift of mentality in Latin America, and that has also helped us be able to speak with them.
Sure, it really sounds interesting, and I would love to dive deeper, and I hope we can get more into details to know what you guys are already insighting, because the audience for sure listening and wants to hear those details, what you see, what you insight, and so on. Okay, so we did as a bit of the warm up. So I'd like to go a bit more into different topics. We're going to touch not like the accelerator and to be the salesy here about the program, etc. No, but we're going to touch those topics that are part of the life of the startup, and it's touch the accelerator program, like the mindset, the sales, then go to market, the fundraising, the things that really matter, the things that we hearing all the time from the startup, from the ecosystem, etc. So it's not accidentally asked how is 2021 for the business, but overall, I want to a bit roll back to you as a founders, as a co-founders, as a CEOs who starting this business, right? So from that mindset perspective. I really love this, Founder's Dilemma, published by Harvard Business Harvard Review in 2008, right? When the review was about, that entrepreneurs, the founders, when they started the venture, they need to pick: are they going, after the money, or are they going, after being the king? In other words, picking the choice between making the money and managing their own ventures. And the ones who don't, figure out in this journey in the beginning, typically end up neither wealthy, neither powerful. So it's not a tricky question, but probably is the easy question: how it's important in the beginning when you're starting your venture, clearly know what you want as a founder. What do you really want as a founder to end in this venture? No, it's not necessary this, but maybe you talk about this, maybe you thought about this, maybe you discussed in between the co-founders. So Jevgenij, maybe I'll start with you. You are
sure.
2 years, so 3 years for the company. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that if we're talking about that question and what's the mission, what's the goal behind this, for the GoRamp, because let's say we are 3 of the founders and we are all of us, we are from the industry, the problem we're trying to solve at the moment. And that's why we saw all those pains, and we were dealing with those pains every day. And that's why that goal was to change the daily lives for the people, for the majority of manufacturing companies. And that's why it was more about the impact and less about the money, because we wanted to have some kind of the let's say positive impact on daily lives of those people. And this was, and I think that this is still the main internal motivation for the team and for the product. So yeah.
Okay. Thanks. I think it's really interesting, and when you dive deeper, to understand first of all what you want as a founder, then put it in the company and lay down to core people, and this is the part of very clear vision, where you're going, why you're going, and so on. What about you guys? Last batch, basically, new startups, new companies, just up to 1 year age. Ernesto, what about you? How important from your side, to know clearly the goals, from the founders and lay down them into the company?
It's super important. It's like, I would say, it's one of the questions that you have to ask from day one from your founder. Like, if you are joining this, it's really important to know like how far you're willing to go, and I don't know if it's really related, as I understood this. But some of the things like Thomas and I sometimes speak is like, do you want to be like to have a huge impact in a big market, and what does that take? Would that take you 10 years, and then as a collateral like side effect is gonna be like maybe your company will go towards an IPO, or is it gonna be like so big market and it's gonna be so driven that maybe you realize that the potential is huge and you don't need to get that far, but actually you're able to solve the problem very differently. And in our case, we speak a lot with governments. Of course, that was actually a funny thing. We spoke with investors that we have now. Like, it was like, well, if you cannot solve the problem with the government, maybe you should be the government. And then we were like, so should we run for president or but of course that's not gonna happen. But I guess like you kind of get the idea that we have is like it what matters the most right now, and it's something I've noticed we're really driven, is like we just want to see that there is a market that we can really help. And if that takes like 2, 3, 4, 5 years to achieve, then I think we'll be more than happy that we have done it, instead of just saying like we'll just go out tomorrow, and even though we haven't achieved anything. So that would be like my answer, at least.
Okay. It's interesting that you mentioned as well, those deciding, that are you going after IPO? Are you going, to reach hundreds of millions of worth of the company after 5 years, to be acquired? So I completely agree, that it's important part, especially knowing the numbers, that typically the benchmark is like 9 years to reach, to go to the IPO for the companies, what we see, in a global arena. And another numbers indicate, that in the first 3 years, that typically 50% of the founders losing the CEO role in the company, 60% in year 4. This is also the benchmark, and when you going after this IPO as a goal, you as a CEO, for example, as you are 3 CEOs, it's like the chance is like 10-50% that you go to this one, right? So Laimonas, what do you think about this? How it's important as a founder to keep to this chair as a CEO and managing the business and etc.?
I know it probably depends on the people who are behind the company. So some choose some choose one role, so some others. So that's very upon the person and personality. But getting back to your question, how important it is to understand your goals. Mm-hmm. So especially between the founders. So when I think about it is when we gathered as a team, we made this decision that we have only one goal, and it's growth. So we all agreed on it. So for us, it's clear path, and the reason why after such a short period of time we'll be operating in actually 4 countries, our revenue is quite nice, the team is growing super fast, is because we chose so. And this is very, very, very important, because it eliminates the discussion, should we do that or shouldn't we do that? If it's growth, we're going there. So that's very, very, very important. And no matter where it brings you after 5 years or 10 years, are you CEO of the company or not? The goal which you decided in the beginning is the most important. That if you decide to grow, then do so, and that's it's a choice. It's not that it must be so. So it's a choice. And that's very important to choose it from the beginning. What are you seeking? So in our case, for example, I would never see myself leading a company who's few thousand employees and I'm a CEO making decisions here alone. I'm more of the guy who drives a company and see myself better in a shareholder's position. But I know exactly the opposite people than I am, who would never want to lose the CEO position. For me, it would be a day to celebrate. That means that there's an organization behind you and there's people working for you because you're still a shareholder. And so it's again, there's no one way to do things.
Yeah, I completely agree. That many entrepreneurs are attached, to a startups as my baby, and many later challenges are met because of this. Okay,
I think we talked about it before, and I think we came to the conclusion that the guys who are afraid to leave the CEO role, they are not afraid to give it to someone else. They're afraid that they don't know how to do anything else in their life. So that might be the case as well. So.
Yeah, it makes sense, in this case. So guys, so this was, the insight from this personal founder's perspective. Getting back a bit to a business, So the Xpass is focusing on the Latin America, and I would say narrow to focusing on Mexico. The strategy is local, right? The heavy finance is going after Lithuania, Latvia, Poland, Bulgaria, Portugal, right? So basically the multi-local, the strategy on the multi-local level. And the GoRamp, correct me if I'm wrong again, but you are going after some global strategy because, even in the last quarter, you were talking about like 6 new customers, like from different markets and so on. So, I see, when we're talking about this local, multi-local and the global strategies, it comes to a very different, tactical activities later and etc. So my first questions are here. How hard is even in the program, like in the Accelerator or not necessarily in the Accelerator, to define, are you going to be the multi-local? Are you going to be local? Are you going to be global? Because, many different things appear on the strategic, on the tactical, on the investments level, cash you need, etc. on this. So, Laimonas, how do you define to go after, like, I don't know, Portugal, Bulgaria? That's atypical, I would say, that all the startups think now, oh, let's go to UK, oh, let's go to US, the biggest market and so on. How does that happen, like this market?
So there's a story behind it, and there's arguments why we do so. So in our case, the biggest agricultural financing gap exists in 3 countries. It's Poland, it's Spain, and Romania. So that's where our product is needed most. But at the same time, these countries are big, and you have to prepare yourself financially and create your playbook. So what we decided, we call it, so these 3 countries I mentioned before, we call it tier 1 countries, and then we have these tier 2 countries where the financing is needed, but not that much as these tier 1 countries. So we decided to go in a smaller countries and create a playbook on how we engage in a new country, so our mistakes will cost less than we go full scale, for example, Poland, which we are planning. So after we raise our seed round, for us, Poland is the market where we go full power, and we have to be prepared for a bigger and more costly mistakes. So it's that approach, and after we conquer one market, which is we can show them for other investors, like in the next stages, that look, guys, we did that in small countries. We have a playbook. We repeated that in a big country. That's where our revenue comes from. So we can do it in 2 more countries. So it's easy to do the math behind it. No one can disagree on your math if you proved it right. So we have this strategy. We're following it, and and that's the logic behind it. It's pure math and pure kind of tactics here, how to approach the larger countries. But I'm not saying that there's only one way to do so. It's only how we see it.
Yeah, for sure. But basically what you're saying that you're finding this growth formula and repeating it in other country, like, scaling, but before finding the growth formula, right? So basically entering to this. Okay.
Yeah, that's exactly the truth. And looking at, for example, a Lithuanian star, Vinted, they do exactly the same strategy. So they go market by market, and each round is followed by investment, and then investment from VCs, which are sent to some local country, let's say Italy or Germany before, or Spain. So these guys are repeating what they did before in the other countries. So I believe that's at least in Europe that makes sense, because we have this fragmented market. So I sometimes think that if Europe would be one single market as USA is, then I believe that European entrepreneurs could even reach better results than the USA has. But we spend quite a lot of time adjusting to these languages, let's say.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, for sure. There is very clearly this strategy on the multi-region marketing. So Yevgeny, you are, with the GoRamp, you're going in a global market. I mean, right? So I believe inbound, outbound as well. But the question is here always, for the startup for this region, when you're going for a global, strategy, and one day there could be a customer from the US, another from Asia, right? And then Australia, like you already have. It appears other questions, about our customer success, about this 24/7 question, and et cetera, et cetera. So how did you become that you want to go not like local, country by country, but the global? How it's the challenges and probably what's the biggest advantages going to this?
Mm-hmm. So for us, I think the main question, and maybe the main reason why we decided to go there and to test, let's say, several bigger regions, was the question how the market is educated or prepared for the solution. Because to bid only on the one market, so yeah, we had the possibility to go only for the Poland or for Germany or for UK, where we see the biggest potential there. But then it's let's say very huge risk that if you'll be not a fit there, then you'll just burn like 4-6 months, and it will be like it will hurt a lot for especially this stage. That's why we decided that we'll select like few bigger markets there, and then we'll just validate those markets, and we'll see the numbers behind this and all the math. And on the other hand, we have that possibility to validate those markets which are not the target ones from the inbound. So let's say the same Australia or New Zealand or the same Canada. But then we have like the first signs as a proof of the concept that there is also a problem there, and there is also potential possibility to scale this in the upcoming rounds. So maybe answering the question, we decided to go for the few bigger markets because of minimizing the risk, just to put everything on the one region for round.
Okay, if you may ask also to this.
Sure.
So as you graduated 2 years ago, in the program, did you validate the market by that time in the program, and how many times you changed the strategies, after the program? I mean, we do understand the startups, live organism changing many things, but what did you validate in the program, and how many things changed after that?
So, our main assumptions during the acceleration program was just to validate not like a home market as a Lithuania, because we are like Lithuanian funded, but also the Latvia and Estonia, because we had the most of experience there. We had some kind of network there, and it was easier for us to understand, or at the same time to show some traction, not only from Lithuania, but also from Latvia and Estonia. So that was the main focus for us like 2 years ago. And I would say like in the period of 12 months, we decided that, okay, we see that the tendency in different markets is pretty the same. But in order to not burn time in only one market, let's try a few markets, and then we'll see, let's say in upcoming 4-6 months, in which market the numbers are the best ones, and then just like reallocate the resources for the best scaling markets in our case.
Okay, thanks a lot for clarifying this. Ernesto, I did read your last report. So for the audience, as a startup graduate from the program, or whatever, the program is, not necessarily us, from the investor's perspective, each startup doing some quarterly reports. So the same is for us. So we're reading, our alumni's reports, how the things are happening, how we can help, and so on. So from the last report, I was really curious to ask you, and it's very related to this question, that you mentioned that you were doing this planning, what you really want to achieve in the upcoming 2 years in Mexico. And I saw that you had this workshop together with a new investor, and you're planning to become, best rated tech company with reaching 700,000 of paid users in the upcoming two years. So my question is related here. As you're targeting one market, the huge one market, but you're not going like the multi-level or global. Is it more easy or is it more challenging, to think about the strategies, how you're going to become this number one in this particular, target?
I would say it's challenging for everyone. Like, doesn't matter if it's Mexico, Brazil, Estonia, Portugal. But I would say the challenging part of the team and that we have got to experience is if you have the brain in Europe and you don't have someone on the ground, then it might be more difficult to be getting the inspiration from the people. And by that, I mean, like, if you are setting this big target of 700,000 people that you can affect their lives and they really love your product, then essentially that will probably mean that we have gotten the 40% rule, that 40% of those people cannot live without our product. And essentially we're proving product market fit, which is our biggest question right now. So getting back into the question, like, is it challenging? Well, it is challenging right now, or it has been challenging for us to really understand, like, where is the market that could be the biggest one? Because Mexico is big. Mexico has 125 million people, so it's like a fifth of the European Union. So you don't really have to go after like other countries if you want to impact many people's life. But then the big question that you have is like, it's not even like, are they willing to pay for it, or do they have the money for that? They do have it. The question is, are they willing to change the experience that they have today, queuing, going, filling the paper, seeing the signature, seeing yourself that you are there, for something where they will literally spend only 5 minutes, not see anything, not get any paper, and they will be like actually willing to give their information to do it. And I think Jevgenij mentioned that. It's like, are they ready for the solution? And I would even shift that a bit even more, and it's like, are they ready for this experience? And that is a big challenge there with Mexico. That it's not that people are not tech savvy, but just is part of the culture that you eventually need to prove that you can change. And if we would manage to do that, and that was what I was talking about in this report, which was part of planning. If we manage to find the formula to help them change that behavior towards something that can help them, then we might be speaking like really, really good things in the future. It might be seeing really, really good things coming from Xpass. Yeah.
Okay. Just quickly, maybe adding, this one important part I noticed that you mentioned that in this planning, that this important planning, you included your investor. So the recent investor, how important, if you could elaborate, to include the investor in the, company planning in those upcoming years, and the coming result of this,
It's really important. Like, and I can describe you how, and even how they say it, I really like it. At some point, I believe every founder and every member of a startup, you're really hustling. You're really like executing. You're really doing your thing, and you think what you're doing is the right thing, etc. But at some point, you need to take this helicopter view and actually think more strategically and understand what are like the big needs that you have. Like 2 months ago, I didn't know I needed someone who could help me with accountant. like not for Xpass, but for what we're doing. 2 months ago, I didn't think like it would take so long to hire an engineer. It's not easy. Like you need to post quite a lot. You need to really convince people. You really need to be speaking. So investors bring that maturity, in my opinion, at least in my experience. Like Startup Wise Guys brings that like helicopter view of like, hey, cool that you're doing that stuff in Mexico, but have you thought about like that actually you need to start fundraising? Like it doesn't take 2 weeks, it takes 6 months. Yep. Have you actually thought that you should start hiring this guy that you are telling me you need in 2 months because he has a notice period of 30 days and you should be like, actually you should have started yesterday. So that's how important it is. I would say it's vital to have this perspective from the outside.
So we touching this really important points, the fundraising as well, the capital, even you can have those big goals, big ambitions to be number one in your target, and of course the capital is playing here, right? So from one side, what we see, that on a global arena, the global deal volume is increasing. Like in the decade, it decreased from 10,000 rounds to 30,000 rounds till 2017. Then a bit dropped down, in the upcoming 2 years, but it's still, for example, in Q1 2021, in this year, in Q1, in Central and Eastern Europe, we have more than 200 rounds of investments, right? So, and it's like 20-30% more than the year ago. And I know, Jevgenij, maybe starting with you, that you closed around almost $500,000 in the 12 months range after the program, after the acceleration. You prepared to close, but still, the question is how challenging is to find the investor for a Baltic startup?
Yeah, so maybe as Cristobal would say that there are a lot of money there, but you need to prove that you are worth that money. So I think that if you are showing the traction, and it's not about the revenue, it could be depending on the startup of the product, it could be the number of the active users or subscriptions, whatever it is. If you're showing the traction and if you have a good core team, because also till the acceleration, I didn't thought that the core team and the values are that important. And when the majority of investors, especially in very, very early stage, said that one of the core triggers and variables to validate the company is the founders or members or the team, I thought that, so if you have a good product, then the product will push you. But now I realize that if you have a good product, and in the majority of cases, you need to pivot in some cases. But if you have a good team, so the team will, the team will be successful with this. So answering the question, how difficult is to raise for the Baltic startup? I don't see that there is a very big difference whether you are the startup from the Baltics, from the Poland, because there are a lot of different conferences where you could have all the, let's say, investors from the CE region. And also, let's say, there are a lot of different conferences in Poland, and you have, let's say, a lot of different investors from the Western Europe. And the good examples from the Baltics and those like good success stories from the Baltics showing that there is a huge potential in the Baltic startup scene. So I wouldn't say that the startup from the Baltics is worse than startup from the Poland, and everything is about the execution.
Okay, it's really interesting you're touching, those super important parts that need to be prepared now about fundraising. That, it's many times, the early stage startups ask, should we, be traction based? Should we be revenue based, startups? And probably it's a really good example of the Xpass that the guys raised really fast the round right after the program, right after the accelerator. Even the, not a big secret was, on a pre-revenue mode, but they built with a traction based, and then a super good team, super good experience, good, mission, I would say this, and it was success. Even we know the fact that 80 or maybe 90% of the VCs are traction-based VCs, so really good points, Jevgenij, here about, the team, the preparation, and then the problem that you're solving. But maybe I'll ask a different angle question then. I know, Laimonas, that you are. I'm not going to disclose here anything. I know you're going to have some good news soon. But I'll ask you in a different angle. So what we see now, like also in global arena, like 2020 was something big. Like many VCs raised the capital. I think in the US it was 100 billion. In European VCs also records. The micro VCs raised capital. Even in this region, we see like in the Baltics, in the last 18 months, the Practica Capital, the Change Ventures. In the Poland, like we have announcements from Innovo, OTB, another 10 million to private capital fund. So 150 funds in the Poland, 40 funds in the Baltic states, 40 funds in the Nordics. Maybe it's opposite. Maybe it's competition from the VCs. How challenging you see this, and maybe how you see this that VCs are approaching you guys?
Yeah, so I don't know, from our experience, fundraising is not easy, and I believe it shouldn't be easy, because one thing is that it's a business opportunity for both. So one company is selling equity, funds are selling funds, actually, and that's a business opportunity. So it's like a sales process for both of them, and until the magic happens, there's quite a lot of meetings and so on. So what I'm saying here is that even if there's a lot of opportunities, a lot of funds, and a lot of different funds, a lot of money and a lot of different funds, the match between your company and that VC still has to happen. So it's not that easy as going on a Tinder date. It takes time, good preparation, and many other different factors. Most probably some raises actually comes from as a surprise. You don't know where it comes from. It's a sales process. So the more potential clients there are, in our case, startup case, it's VCs. The more there are, the more you can speak with, the better it is for yourself. Cristobal is right. There's a lot of funds there, but as well the ecosystem is growing. Startups are growing. So what I'm saying, from both sides, it's not easy process, and it shouldn't be easy, because that's serious money we're talking about, and serious plans we're talking about. So it's like a marriage between you and a fund in some way. So it isn't easy, and it shouldn't be easy.
Yeah, I completely agree here, and it's really good that you're mentioning, that it's time consuming. Probably you guys agree with this, right? And Jevgenij, and even give you a floor, because you are the one who probably knows well, about this, that it could be tough, it could be challenging. Even you are succeeding, but it's super exhausting, right?
Yeah. I just wanted to add to Laimonas that it's like having the cooperation or relationships, whatever we call this, between you and the investor. It's like a marriage, and you need to have match not only like financial wise, but you need to have a match also like cultural wise, because you need to be together for upcoming 5, 7, 10 years. And then if there are very big cultural or values difference, then when it will come to the difficult situations, then it will bring much more fire, because there will be no cultural fit, and the opinions about the difficult situations will differ. So I think that it's also very crucial not just to take all the money from the market, from the funds, but then also to find that startup investor cultural and value fit, as keeping in mind it's very, very important and long run with that another side.
Completely agree here. And then probably that now we see that the startups as well are doing this due diligence on the investor side, because 4 or 5 years ago, there was no such capital, and every startup was looking for this attention from VC and grabbing the first money. But now when there's capital, it's good to be an entrepreneur. It's good to be a startup, right? So you can do this due diligence on someone, as you said, who are bringing to a table, who are bringing to those 5-7 years marriage, right? So anyway, as Laimonas said, even you are in a good vertical, you have a good traction, you are attractive, but it's still time consuming. You can drop down from business like for 6 months, right? So how you prepare the team that, hey guys, we're raising everyone, yeah, but I'm out for 6 months, right? So how you prepare the team, how you prepare yourself now to be like running the show, running the business, to keep the company culture, and in the same time, to go 120% for the fundraising. And Ernesto, from your side, probably it was, a quick way, but still, I would like to hear each comment of you, how you're preparing yourself for this, not an easy task that everyone is, asking.
Yeah, I mean, it looks quick, right? But there's a lot of work in the background, and here I would like to say that's part of the founding team. It's like if you have a founding team, if you're starting a startup with people who you trust, with people who are really prepared, who are part of your A team, it's things are just way less difficult. And having Thomas, who is already mentioned him, one of the founders, by my side, really made things easier. And it is important that you do tell the team what's happening, what you're doing. It is important to really understand what you're looking for and looking after, and it's really important to have a timeline as well, because you have to make some tough decisions at some point. So I guess my answer is I think you should definitely think of the worst possible case scenario, and then go from there onto okay, what I can actually achieve before. And that really played out for us. In our case, we were okay, what how long do we think this is gonna take? How much of our effort is this gonna take? Decide which one is gonna be divide and conquer. Which one is it gonna be reaching out potential investors? Which one is it gonna be pitching? Which one is it gonna be keeping with the team, pushing the team? Who is gonna be doing this? And once you divide, then you conquer. Then it was pretty straightforward. Execute, push, emails here. For example, I can tell in our case really openly, Thomas was the one sending emails maybe on behalf of my name and stuff like that. And then I was the one who was speaking, but then he was the one taking more care of the team. And then I was the one who was kind of looking at the documents. And then this was very clear from the beginning, where each one of us was a bit better than the other, for example, and where we would enjoy the most. So again, it's really important that founding team for really racing around. I don't think probably without his support and the support of the team, we could have achieved that so quickly. It's just impossible, at least for me. I know there are one team founders, but at least in my case, I feel that way.
So in other words, it's we can say that the fundraising, it's not the CEO role, right? The fundraising is the founders, at least the founders' role, just in different responsibilities. When the one is focusing on one thing, another is covering another things, etc. Right?
If I may add, building, opening a kebab shop is hard. Right, so it is a business, and it's hard. It takes effort. It takes your time, and then you have to deal with a lot of things. But here we're playing in a NBA level, UEFA level. So we are building companies worth of hundreds of millions. At least that's what we are aimed for, right? So it shouldn't be easy. That's what I was saying about. And raising a capital is one of the procedures you have in your daily job. So you have human resources, you have marketing, you have sales, you have strategy, and you have financing. So financing will happen forever if you're in this VC road. So you have to learn how to do it. You have to nail it. And I wouldn't exaggerate it. And sometimes VCs say it takes a lot of your time, and then you're not dealing with your daily operations. But that's the way it is. It's one of the processes, and you have to deal with that. and I don't see how it can be different. So it never stops. When you raise one round, have to go for another one, and might take you a year and a half or 2 years, but you have to think about it and prepare it. It's financing is one of the many procedures in your work. So
yeah, I completely agree. And probably we are touching here this important part of that. When the founders, especially when we realize this, that you're closing the round, you're celebrating, next day you're waking up and you start raising another round, right? Even you have this 12, 18 months of the runway, you still need to prepare and work on the traction and raising. So this core team basically becomes a super important part in the startup who is running the show, and as the founders are in many cases, focusing on this capital and, on the strategy, the helicopter view and so on. So jumping to this team, building the core team, how for you guys was, challenging now, especially in this small region, like now we have like Baltics, when we have unicorns that we are very happy about, but those unicorns are the big magnets for the talents as well, that no one is talking about here. And for the startups who just run into, how hard is to build this core team, and how typically is working the motivation? How important is the mission? How important is the ESOP, for example, if you're thinking about this? It's a very complex part, but maybe shortly, how you building this core team? How are you motivating this core team? Yeah, maybe Jevgenij, we can start with you.
Yeah, I can answer. So I think that at the beginning, it's very important to understand because there could be like the team of the founders, and then there could be a gaps of the competencies you are still lacking because of the, let's say, the limited resources there. So I think that here is important to understand which gaps we already covering and which gaps we still need to cover. And then if we're talking about the motivation of the people, so what worked for us, I think that, let's say, our belief in the mission, I think that let's say, because we onboarded our CPO and CTO, let's say, after 15 months of running the business, because so far we did it by ourselves. And then, like during the discussions with them, we just realized that, let's say, the belief in the mission, and also opportunity for them to join the company and to use their experience and the competencies in quite an early stage. These were the motivations for them in order to join the company, because you can join the unicorn, but then you'll be like a very, very small part, and the impact which will make on the company processes and on the business growth as itself will be not that high. So I think that for small companies, for early startups, let's say, trying to approach those core team members, one of the reasons is just to, let's say, to tell them the story or sell the story that they'll have quite a significant impact on the business and on some like part of the business as a product or IT or sales, as the example. So this was the case of our scenario.
Okay, so maybe adding here, how do you guys know, like in the early days, in the early stage, when it comes, it's not necessary you start with the core team, right? You're starting with the co-founders. Startup life happens, the co-founders split aside, and you're still bringing some new talents and building the core team. How this, motivation package, I would say, when it comes, to equity, to ESOP, putting, something in plans in the ESOP to motivate the future team. How this practice already in the startup? When you started to think about this as a motivation package for the future employees, and when do you think it's a normal to think about this in the early days? I don't know, maybe Laimonas, talking about you,
Actually, an advice to whoever starts the startup, I would advise that, to have this ESOP mechanism from day one, because it's actually math behind it. You hurt yourself less if you start doing that from the day one. So that's anyways, you will have to do it later. So better sooner than later. So that's maybe an advice. But then, of course, the core founding team should be motivated, and equity is important here, because you ask guys to leave their well-paid jobs, and even if you're offering the same salary, you don't offer guarantees. So you have to offer opportunity. Then what's in it for them? Because values is very important. You hire on values, but at the same time, at some point of day or even now, these guys have families. They need to feed them, and money is important as well. So you have to give them opportunities so they can explain their wives and kids that I'm leading this because that's what happens in the future. So I would say that ESOP is important from day one, and that's the first thing you should do. Even if you are the one founding person, just make it happen, because that's important.
Yeah, I completely agree with it, because from what we see, that overall, there is this global benchmark that in the global startups there is like, I think, 2.8 founders per startup, and still when it comes, in the year next, the core team is becoming super important. And if you are not solving in the early days, it can be super challenging later, because as you said, the competition is huge, the unicorns around as the magnets attracting the talents. So guys, we going this hour like jump like this, but still I really want to get back now to the accelerator and probably things quickly jumping to you, Jevgenij, again, so 2 years after the program, so what I'm curious to ask, probably I never asked, so it's not like what happened, but what's still with you from this from the program? Is it like alumni? Is it network? Is it like the Wise guys overall? Is it there some knowledge, or is it what is this? What you took it out of it?
So when I'm talking or when I'm thinking about start the Wise Guys Acceleration Program, so the first word which comes to my mind is family. Because all the time in all the conferences, you have a huge network, huge family of the Startup Wise Guys portfolio companies. And 2 years ago, I think it was something around 120, 140 startups. At the moment, we have more than 200 startups. And yeah, it's truly community where you have Slack channels, where you can ask for the advice, where you can ask for the help. So this is still with us. And it was from the day one, and there is no hierarchy that we are like the 5-year startup and we are the first-year startups. Everyone is on the same level and on the same page and very, very friendly. So this is one of the points, and the network of the mentors, because still during the acceleration program you have hundreds of like world-class mentors coaching you on different strategies, different topics, and afterwards you still have the contacts with them, and by the hashtag Startup Wise Guys you can all the time approach them and ask for advice. And finally, I would say that the understanding of the core values as one of the core things for the business still with us, because I think that the Startup Wise Guys Acceleration Program gave us opportunity to understand that the core values, our core mission, and very strict split by the who is whom gave us opportunity not to do everything for all of the founders at the same time, but just to split and focus on the same thing or on the different things, which helped us to execute in more effective way. So I would say community, network of the mentors, and let's say the core things about the business, especially if you didn't have any business before this. These are the things which we learned and which we are still learning at the moment.
Okay, thanks a lot, Evgeny. And I think that it's important to mention that you are from batch 14 that was on site, right? You've been bonded, you got really feeling of it, or you have some parties, you have those deep in you the network. So Ernesto and Laimonas are from the previous batch, that hit the COVID, the hybrid model, the part of online. So the guys, how about you? Did you feel the same what Jevgenij just said, Ernesto, about the network, about this family feeling? It's a hybrid, right? Maybe maybe it wasn't that bonded. Even you had this chance for I believe 3-4 weeks to be together.
So in my case, I would say I agree with Jevgenij. Like, I get the community feeling. That's something that I like. I mean, it's true. Like, probably it's not as attached as maybe it was in his case, because we were not like together all the time or seeing each other. But it's like, it's a new way also of communicating, which I really like. Or at least with my team, like, we're all distributed. Some are in Brazil, others are in Mexico, we're in Estonia. So I would say we really found a way to bond. But something that I really like about Startup Wise Guys, and I wanted to mention is, and I have been really thinking about this, like, it's like the vision is like, if someone would ask me like, so what did you learn? It's like, it's a vision. It's a way you can think forward, like, all the time. It's I would say many times, like, when you just start, you're just thinking like, what is the next thing? What is the next thing? What is the next thing? You just ask, are you fundraising? Like, that really stick in my head. And then we were all like, yeah, we're all fundraising. And it's like, no, you are not fundraising. You are maybe thinking to fundraise, or you're maybe preparing to fundraise.
Right.
Then you might be actually fundraising. So this structure, or this way of thinking ahead and having like an actual plan and having that vision towards where you want to go is what really sticks with us. And I would say it really played an important part in our last round, because it was like most of the compliments we received were stuff that we were actually taught during the program, and to think like really ahead, to think really like way before they would ask for something, like that we were already ready for that. So yeah, I agree with Jevgenij, community, network, but I would also add on top of that vision.
Yeah, for sure. I completely agree. That's super important, to add on this. What about you, Laimonas? What are you taking off of this?
So in my case, what I really appreciate is what we learned there is, to prepare our way of thinking for this VC road, and to have a methodical approach and understanding on how to run it, and what's important, what's the metrics behind it, what's the numbers behind it, what's the way of thinking from VCs they have, what's their logic, and this methodological thinking about a startup as a startup was really important for myself. So I believe that's if we wouldn't go to Accelerator, we wouldn't have this knowledge and way of thinking, so we could nail it in the next rounds that we're fundraising, and because it really has to be an excellent process in your company. So without this background and clear understanding what you should be trying to achieve, and as well what the VCs are looking for, it would be really hard to achieve. So I really appreciate that part. And of course, community and friends, it's always good. Unfortunately, we didn't have much time to spend it in a bar, because that always helps. But I really recommend anyone to doing a startup to at least once in your life go in an accelerator, because that's very important.
Yeah, for sure. I completely agree. You guys, that those the things that you can achieve, but when you're in the community, when you are together, they're coming. So thanks a lot. The hour flies, and then probably we can quickly jump, to some questions if we have from the audience. Yeah, so we have some questions I see on a chat. So probably I'll try to read them. So the first one is, hey, what are the early stage pre-revenue investors in CE? So I don't know, probably I cannot quickly answer this, that, if you are pre-revenue, I think it's very important to understand pre-traction and pre-revenue. So when you are pre-revenue, probably you have some traction, starting, some demos, some POCs running, some, visitors on your some trial marketplace or whatever you're building. So in early days, when you are pre-revenue, typically, it's a good start to talk with the business angels and, going to S-bound, lead-bound, some syndicates, and then probably private investors. This is the best start, to get the initial investment, and this is the fastest way because you can close the round quickly in just few weeks. If you go, after the VC capital, probably it's doable, but you will spend a lot of time here. So yeah, in the early stage, in the pre-revenue is best way to go to the angels.
What about startup wise guys?
Yes, for sure. That the acceleration programs, of course, it's a super good fit. I already thinking default of here. That's why I'm not mentioning. I don't want to be overselling here, but of course, if you have a good product, if you have a good vision, ambition, and most important part, if you have a good team, then of course, welcome to Startup Wise guys. We will definitely pre-revenue make into some revenue. So yeah, and then build the bridge to the next capital. More than happy to hear from you, and just simply apply to here. Hey guys, please tell me in Europe which country is the best for immigrant entrepreneur. So well, the Baltics are good. I mean, we are super prepared in many aspects, and from visas, for establishing the companies, from building the startup, from the ecosystem. So basically, the Baltics is the Silicon Valley in Europe. I wouldn't afraid to tell this. So for sure, all the countries, all the three countries are simply good fit for you. Probably I don't see more questions from the audience. Maybe guys, you want to ask each other something? Did we lose Jevgenij? Probably, yeah. Anyway, yeah. If you have some questions to each other, because you didn't see for a while as well, so you can be open and shoot the questions here too.
Yeah. Actually, there was a good question from Lina, I think. Like, how did you approach potential clients to research the need of the stuff that you're making? Really beginning of startup phase. And I would say, like, I can maybe answer this one because I would say we're in that phase. There was a pretty good article. I think, I don't remember, maybe I won't mention the article. I don't remember the name and who wrote it. But the way we're trying to do this, I actually remember another guy who spoke about this. I think his name is David Rusenko, the founder of Weebly. He said it in a Y Combinator video. He was saying, like, most of the startups have this idea, and then they talk to customers, and then something happens, and then boom, it's like, great idea. But then in that something happens is what normally we fail to understand what actually has to happen. So what we did at Xpass was to take like step back, and we were like, okay, cool. So what are we actually trying to achieve, and who are we actually trying to speak to? So what we did was like survey people, like start from the basics. Like we survey people, we paid 20 euros in ads, and we got over 100 responses. Of course, we put a lot of attention into the questions. We made groups. Then with the groups, we made conclusions. With the conclusions, we built a prototype using a zero code application called Bubble. It took us like 2 days to do it. And then with few more like ads, we put it out, and then we tested again, like the whole flow, what people were choosing, what people actually were liking. We had over 600 visitors in less than a week. And then we realized, like, okay, this is something that actually people want, or it looks like they're interested. And then what we started to do is do a bit more structured prototype now. And then with this prototype, we just spoke to 5 people to give us their like insights on what they think, how they do it. And now with that feedback, we're trying to actually build something that is not just a prototype, but something more mature. And that's the way I would suggest anyone, at least who is in a B2C, or even maybe, I don't know if this would apply a lot to a B2B space, but at least with B2C, B2B2C, it really helped us like unblock this creativity on how you can prove that what you're thinking it's actually right, and how the market will actually start telling you like, yeah, you're doing that. So yeah, that would be my advice. Like, talk to people. You can do there are ads, there are like zero code applications. You can literally have Twitter built into these type of applications. It costs $100, and then you can prove it.
Yeah, can I as well jump on it?
Sure.
In my life, I did quite a lot of the small and bigger companies. So I think I have an advice here. So save your time and don't do any reviews, any kind of asking if you would buy my product. Just create a product and sell it. That's the only way to understand if someone is buying it. And do it as soon as possible, because otherwise you're wasting your time and wasting your friend's time, while, I would be good in doing that and this and that. So just go and say, buy my product. If the guy is not buying, you ask, why don't you buying it? You don't like it. The guy tells you, no, I don't like it. Okay, you create it, you change it, and you say, buy it now. If the guy is still not buying, so no one needs your product. And that's simple, and that's simple as that.
And for sure, we need to hear what Laimonas says, as this is not the first venture. Probably the question from the audience now is, Laimonas, how can an accelerator can help experienced founders, and is it relevant for them? And just reminding quickly to audience that it's not your first venture, and it's you've been there, you've seen many things, you even had an exit, a year ago. So you are experienced founder who basically knows the stuff. Let's be open. How it can be really helpful from the accelerator's perspective, and what's your initial thought was on making the decision to join it?
So in our case, Startup Wise Guys increased my success rate. That's how I see it. So that's why I joined them. So first of all, yeah, that's correct. I recently counted that I established 10 companies myself, and most of them were successful, but in very small level, I would say. So the last one, the Finby, we managed to do a very good job in local country, but as well we couldn't find a way how to expand to different countries. So when I joined the Accelerator, it's because even experienced founders need advice, need as I said, methodological approach, how to articulate what you're doing, how to approach what's the network and so on. So first of all, network is important when you join Accelerator, because you make this network your investors, so they care about you. Then they teach you on how to articulate on what you're doing, and that's super important. If you think that important is doing your business, but VCs, there are very small teams behind it, so they don't have much time to learn what you're doing. So you have to really articulate fast on what you're doing, what's in it for the VC, where the money comes from, and that's it. So even for experienced founders, it has a lot of value, I would say.
Yeah, I completely agree on that part. So probably we have this experience that for sure the majority of the founders that join the Accelerator is the first-time founders. But what we see, that the founders, with the experience, the founders with not the first venture who's joining, as well benefiting a lot, and a different approach in this experience sharing. So this is a really win-win situation, especially in the batch. That the knowledge is shared in between as well. And the guys, as the time is running up, I really want to wrap up, but probably. As we are live, and our alumni community is watching as well, and your batch friends are watching, so probably I can give just a word by ending up this discussion, and then inviting finally to meet somewhere live, and then to discuss if it's possible. So thanks a lot for being this hour with us. And we really appreciate what you're doing. And first of all, we're very supportive, and it's a big pleasure to work with you. I'm not saying is working, because after the program it's not ending. So it's a big pleasure to working with you guys. And the last few words, if you wanted to add something, for this discussion. Yeah, maybe Ernesto, from your side, if you want to add something.
Well, if I would need to add something, is like I would say like for Startup Wise Guys, like we have mentioned community, etc. But I think we haven't mentioned like the team behind this, and I think that's we mentioned it with investors. But I would mention it with Startup Wise Guys is like not to give you more how you called it, more overselling, but definitely like your team is an A team. Like everyone who is behind the team, it's just amazing. It's like it's really enjoyable working with you. It's not difficult at all, and that's something that I would say makes like 99% of the experience way better. And if I hope like Thomas and I, like if we would be like, will we do it again? Probably. We hope we don't need that again. Like it's ridiculous, but definitely like a reason to come back, if I would put it that way, would be the team. And if I would recommend this to anyone, it would be also because of the team.
Great, thanks a lot, Ernesto. Jevgenij, would like to add something?
Maybe a few words from my side. So I would agree on Laimonas, one of the opinion that if you have the idea, just go for it. So it's better to fail in upcoming 12 months in comparison, regretting that you didn't do this at the end of your life. So just go for it. And if you see that you're lacking experience, network, or know how to do this, I think that your idea, your team, and the Startup Wise Guys is a very good match there.
Thanks a lot, Jevgenij. Thanks a lot. It means a lot for us as well, to be better every day. Laimonas, few words to add?
Yeah, it's unfortunate that we panelists cannot see whom are we talking to, but I expect there's thousands of entrepreneurs or future entrepreneurs. So I talked to them this time, and the truth is that it's without doing your own business, it's hard to earn money in this life. Because that's the way it is. By working at work, you just earn for your monthly expenses and sometimes not more. So you have to make this decision. If you decide to go and create something special, then I would be Sally, and I highly recommend to join Startup Wise Guys accelerators and these teams because it helps. It increases your chance to succeed. So that's it.
It reminds me, if I might add, it reminds me like I read this the other day, which was like, do you want to make money 12 times per year? Isn't that sad? Like you should maybe be making like 365 days. Not money driven, but just saying putting it here as well on top of that.
Yeah, and maybe not from the sales perspective, but from the facts perspective, I think that Startup Wise Guys still have something around 77% survival rate of the startup portfolio. So it means that you have, if you are in the batch and there are 10 teams, if you see that 3 teams are worse than you, maybe it's a good sign that you'll survive here.
Yeah, that's a really good wrap up, guys. I think that you joining in a batch, 10 of the team, so you have pretty good increased chances to survive and to reach the success. Yeah, thanks a lot, guys. It was really good discussion. The time's on. I'm really looking forward to meet you. It was a while, and then really pleasure to talk to you. So thanks a lot for your time. Thanks a lot for sharing your experience. Thanks a lot for the insights, and then thanks a lot for the audience who was watching, giving the questions. So looking forward to this. Okay, guys, good luck and see you soon.
Thanks.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.